when I start something, I usually like to pair it with a profession, because the characters will become instantly more honest that way. They're people in the world as opposed to sort of representative people. And I'm perfectly happy to read a book that is about a truck driver or a neurologist and never in those pages encounter a truck or a neuron. That's fine with me. But when I'm writing, it kind of instantly makes them more real. And then their profession tends to, inform the narrative and the action to some extent. So I knew that I wanted to have patients come in, and then that became a little bit more thematic in that he's always dealing with rot and decay, and he's a pretty he's a downer dude for a good portion of the book. So I needed a reason for that, and in the States, in any event, there's the dentistry is the profession with the highest rate of suicide. So it's a pretty downer profession apparently. So there were a lot of different reasons, but mainly it was kind of an exigent reason. I wanted him to do stuff. I feel like having characters do stuff and having that stuff being informed by his or her profession just generates a lot of content for me. Well, my wife, of course. Well put. I'm glad we talked beforehand. We set it up nicely. I did not know how The Unnamed was going to end. I was figuring out how to make the book end, because I sort of knew the very end, but I didn't really know. To some extent, the book is a record. As all of my books are records to some extent of me as a man and me as a thinker and me as a human being, like trying to figure stuff out, how I think about certain things, how I feel about certain things, what's important, what I find to be of value in the world. And this was definitely that, because he's essentially disease riddled until he dies, and that's the trajectory, and that was really important for me. I knew that from the very beginning. But what was it that he valued? What did he care for? And I found that in the book, and I answered those questions actually for me as a person in surprising ways that actually transcended the book itself. So I learned all that stuff during the composition. No, once I'm done, I'm done. I think that I'm also, though, bringing certain things to bear, which is to say I'm still interested in figuring out how I feel about certain things. At the very beginning of this book, you have a person who's, I think, in despair. He's not happy with himself. He doesn't know how to engage. He doesn't know what meaningful connection means. He kind of blunders his way through a series of relationships. To some extent, that I suppose that's chronicling my own blundering, but it's also kind of thinking in different ways that I never would have had as a human being. It's thinking, I suppose, as an artist, as a person who lives in his imagination. What's possible? What's possible for a human being? How do I want this specific story to resolve? A lot of those things just come out of, a curiosity and a desire to shape things and make them more artful than I find them in real life.